Hey guys, Cody back here with you with Cody's Journey. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my weight loss journey and what got me started on that journey. So really, this goes all the way back to 2011 when I had vertical gastric sleeve. I was at 660 pounds. That is a weight loss surgery. They basically take your stomach, they remove the largest portion of it, and what you're left with is about the size of a banana. It doesn't cause you to absorb less calories, like they didn't rearrange my small intestine or anything like that. It's simply a reduction capacity. And before you can have that surgery, you have to prove that you can lose weight, and you have to do a special diet so that your liver gets small, because they go in laparoscopically through several incisions. And if you have fatty liver, then they're going to sew you right back up, and you just wasted everybody's time. So I got down to around 600 before I had my surgery. I had the surgery. It was successful. That was its own thing. I'll do a video talking about weight loss surgery and what that was like. I continued to lose weight for that first year, and I don't remember how low I got. I had a scale at the time, but at a certain point, the weight was coming off. I just stopped caring about it because it was just magically happening. I think at my lowest, I was around the 540 mark. And then it just kind of plateaued, and then it swung the other direction. And over the last 10 years, I regained all of the weight that I lost. And again, in 2020, I found myself at 660 pounds. And that sucked. I made changes at that point. I had a little medical scare. I thought I was having a heart attack, and I was not. Anyway, the good news from that is that I had my heart thoroughly checked out, and it gets an A++. My heart's amazing. I don't got to worry about that. But I did start taking steps to lose weight in 2020. I got my Apple Watch. I started doing Beat Saber and VR fitness games. I found ways to work activity into my life, and I dropped down and stayed right around the 580 to 600 pound mark for most of the last 4 or 5 years. Last May is when I decided that I'd had enough of living like that. I had enough of barely being able to stand, barely being able to do household tasks. I'd have to carry a stool around with me, for chores. If there wasn't already a chair in the room, I needed some place to sit, because I would just get winded just standing there, and my back would start to go out from the effort of holding myself up. So it wasn't fun. There was an incident where I fell and I could not get up off the floor. I'd hurt my back, but that wasn't the main reason I couldn't stand up. It was just one of the reasons. The main reason is that I was so weak. I was so weak, I could not even go from laying on my stomach to a kneeling position. I could not push my body up off the floor into a kneeling position. I was that weak. I lost so much muscle mass. I would say I was atrophied even for a normal weight person, let alone, trying to lift 600 pounds up off the floor. It wasn't happening. That was a horrible experience, and it was protracted and prolonged. It lasted several hours until I was finally able to get up on my feet. I have trauma over that. I had nightmares for a year over that. It haunted my dreams. I became afraid of the floor. That's no longer the case, thanks to some of the changes that I made. I actually purposely get down on the floor now pretty regularly, a couple times a day. I do push-ups. I take a knee. I do knee stretches and things like that. And I'm still, even though I know I can get back up, I still, in the back of my head, I'm like, man, the floor is a scary place to be. So things sucked, and I felt like I was going to die. And the truth of the matter is that being morbidly obese is horrible. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. When it's bad, it's really bad. And I decided that I'd had enough. So May comes around, and I decide that I'm going to make my health the most important thing in my life. More important than my job, more important than my friends, more important than video games, more important than anything. I began learning about health and diet. I began learning about exercise, and there was a lot of information out there. Some of it was bad information. Some of it was very useful. The internet's a great resource, but it can take a lot of effort to pick through things and find the good stuff. There were several different YouTubers that influenced me and got me kind of on the fitness highway. Magnus Midbo, if you don't know him, he is a climber and he is a real life Sporticus. That guy is one of the most fit, strong, like go get 'em people I've ever seen. He inspired me. Then there were the powerlifter guys like Eddie Hall and Brian Shaw. I actually learned quite a bit about nutrition from those guys. And I was impressed seeing people nearly my weight. Brian Shaw at his biggest, I think he was in the 500 poundish range. And like, I knew that he knew what it was like to be that big. And he had a very protein forward diet. He did a couple videos where he showed how he would like cook a bunch of things and then prep all of his meals for the week. And so that kind of got me in the mindset that the first thing I'm going to have to do is get my kitchen in order and learn how to cook healthy food. Jeff Nippert, his videos were really, really useful. And I love the way he takes like a science-based approach to things. But the more I started to learn about it, the more I appreciated that there's a lot of science going on, the new science still going on with fitness and diet. It's one of the least understood parts of our biology, and it should be the most understood. We all eat, we all exercise, we should understand how things work, but turns out we're not very good at that. And one of my cardinal mistakes is that I thought a diet involved starving myself. And if you starve yourself in a diet, your body is going to go into starvation mode and you're going to plateau. The weight loss is going to start off fast and furious. You're going to be like, I lost 30 pounds in a month. I got this. And then it stalls, and then the hunger intensifies. And then whereas before, you enjoyed a nice meal, now you're thinking about food a lot. You're obsessing about it. You're dreaming about it. You've got these urges that are very hard to control because your body is trying to trick you every way it knows how to make you break your diet because it is starving. It doesn't want to be starving. Your body doesn't like to starve. Starving's not good for you. If you're doing a diet and you're consistently hungry between meals and you are just, obsessing about food and you're fighting the urge to binge, you are cutting too hard and you are sabotaging yourself. And when your body goes into starvation mode, it can take weeks or months for it to recover and for your metabolism to get back up. There was a period back in the early 2000s, I don't remember exactly what year, but I did 600 calories a day for a month. I was like in the 560s. So 600 calories for a 6'2" guy that weighs over 500 pounds. And I did that for a month. And the food I was eating was basically pure protein. I remember I would eat like a half a can of chicken for lunch, and I'd have a Boca burger, which is like a soy-based protein burger, just the patty, for dinner. And I lost like 36 pounds. I was riding high on a wave of I got this. And then the cravings started getting stronger and stronger. And at a certain point, I broke after that month. I went to McDonald's and I got a meal, and I was driving home and I drove past an Arby's and I was like, ooh, I want some cheese sticks. So I got a second meal at the Arby's, and I had 2 fast food meals back to back, and I had never done that in my entire life. I had never binge ate. Cutting that hard wasn't worth it. I started to develop the beginnings of an eating disorder. I started binging food. And I tried to like get back on the diet, and then I made a deal with myself that I would diet during the week, but on the weekends I would eat what I wanted. And of course, what did I do? I binged all weekend, which undid the gains. And that was like an example of doing it wrong. Do not crash diet. Do not starve yourself. So I start this diet back in May, and I'm looking at these YouTube videos. I'm starting to learn what to do. And at first, it was just very simple. I got my food scale. I started weighing out and portioning everything that I ate, and I started logging it in Chronometer. I didn't really change what I was eating at first. Um, that's the thing about tracking calories, is just having that mindset, being mindful of what you're eating. You start noticing stuff. You start noticing that the butter you put on your eggs was half the calories of those eggs. And you're like, well, crap, maybe I should get a nonstick pan and then I can use those calories somewhere else. It just gets you thinking about what you're eating and whether the calories are worth it. Looking at diet, listening to, your Brian Shaws and your Eddie Halls, I decided that protein was the way to go. And the reason I was even watching powerlifting videos is that for me, my metabolism was my worst enemy. It had dropped to nothing. I was weak. I needed to put muscle on. So my plan: cut fat, cut calories, slowly lose weight in a sustainable way. To that end, up my metabolism by building muscle. I didn't care about being strong. I wanted muscle mass, pure mass, because muscle burns more fat, or burns more calories, than fat does. Hypertrophy was my main goal. And so all of the exercise that I started doing in the beginning was geared towards increasing my muscle mass, towards increasing hypertrophy. Meals became about protein, because protein, if you're trying to build muscle, protein is the most important thing. And so I struggled at first to get enough protein. I decided that eggs made a very good source of protein. They were inexpensive at the time. Right now in 2025 with the avian flu, that's not exactly the case, but back then it was. So I started eating a lot of eggs. And then again, I'm tracking calories. I noticed that these eggs have a lot of calories in the yolk. So then I started going in with egg whites. All the good stuff in an egg is in the yolk: the vitamins, the minerals, the cholesterol, both good and bad. It's got a lot of good cholesterol in it. That's all in the yolk. So what I would do is I would do 2 eggs and 2 egg whites, or about 100 grams of egg whites. I originally did like pork sausage for breakfast, but again, very high in fat. So I switched over to doing rinsed taco meat. Cody, why didn't you just use the 93.7 stuff? Well, because it was $2 more a pound. I was trying to save money. Anyway, so I would then put it back on the pan, throw some taco seasoning in it, and then I would portion that out and freeze it. And I would have that with my eggs. That was my lean protein, my easy to get lean protein. Another change that I made around that time, of course, I'm prepping all these meals. I'm making my own food, not doing TV dinners or convenience meals. So deli containers are awesome. For like $20, you can get like a set of like 20 of them. They look like they're something that we use one time and throw away, but they are reusable. And I've had mine for over a year now, or about a year. And I have run them through the dishwasher many, many times, and they hold up. So I started to prep healthy foods, a lot of lean meats, things like that. And I would do them all together, and I would freeze what I wasn't going to use immediately. And that was a huge change for me, because I'd never cooked like that. I'd never ate like that before. The other thing I did is I started to eat a lot more vegetables. Frozen vegetables especially are awesome. They're cheap, like a bag of the Great Value brands, like I think it's $1.25. And you can get 2 really big portions out of that, 170, 180 gram portions. Out of one of those, I would get broccoli and cauliflower, a California mix, which is the same, but it's got carrots in it as well. What I wasn't eating, and which if you're trying to cut calories, you should watch out for, are corn, potatoes, beans. Those are higher in calories for the amount of bulk. And the whole thing that I wanted from vegetables was bulk. I wanted something that would fill my stomach up and slow down digestion. And so my meals, my perfect ideal meal when I started my weight loss journey, was very lean meat with vegetables. For breakfast, it would be eggs, no toast, at least not in the beginning. For lunch, I was doing Greek yogurt. So it's non-fat, it's really good stuff. and I would get frozen blueberries, and I would do 140 grams of frozen blueberries to 170 grams of Greek yogurt, and that would be my lunch. And I think I started out doing like 1,400 calories a day, like that. And at a certain point, I plateaued again, and I was starting to get the starvation-y vibes. So I upped it to 1,800, and I actually lost more weight at the higher calorie count, if you can believe that. Something else that I did early on is I started to include that slice of toast with my breakfast, well, a half slice anyway, because the carbohydrates help me with my workouts. So it's good to have some carbs before you work out. It'll let you do more reps, it'll let you get more sets in. Something else that I did, which was much harder, is I started to take my sleep more seriously. If you are working out and you're going to failure and you're trying to grow muscle, the times when you're not working out, when you're resting after a workout, those are important. When you're sleeping, that's when your body is building new muscle. Supplements. I would use the protein shakes. I would take creatine, monohydrate. I take 5 grams of that a day. It's good stuff. It gets absorbed by your muscles. It makes your muscles absorb water a little bit, which kind of bulks them out. Guys like that because you can see them moving under the surface. But it also helps your muscles metabolize energy better. So you might get an extra rep or 2 out per set. It's not anything too extreme, but it does help you push a little bit harder in your workouts when you're lifting. I started adding vitamins and minerals a few months in. I take like a men's 1 a day. I started taking potassium supplements because I was eating a lot of salt, a lot of sodium chloride with my eggs and stuff like that. And I worried about, the impact it was going to have on my body. And as long as you get enough potassium, eating too much sodium's not really going to be a problem for most healthy people. So I just thought it prudent, to get enough potassium in my diet. Late last year, I did an experiment where I tried to hit 100% of my recommended daily allowance of fiber every day. That was interesting. I didn't expect anything to happen. I always thought of fiber as something that helps you be more regular in the bathroom, something your grandpa might take. But there's soluble fiber and there's insoluble fiber. The insoluble stuff like psyllium husks, that's what your dad, your grandpa are taking, so that they can have more regular bathroom visits. The soluble stuff is interesting. I take dextrin powder, and I was not expecting it to clear my brain fog, but it did. I found after a week of that, I was more mentally there, more in the moment when I was doing things. I used to hate the taste of artificial sweeteners. I would avoid anything with it. I wouldn't drink diet soda. I learned to tolerate artificial sweeteners because that opens up a whole variety of beverages. You should not be getting any calories from anything that you drink if you're trying to diet. They're empty calories. You can do without it. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that fruit juice is healthy just because it's a natural product and it's made from fruit. Without the fiber that the fruit has in its body, if you're just drinking the juice, it's going to be pretty much like drinking a soda. If you eat the actual fruit and not just the juice, the fiber in the fruit slows down digestion. It slows down how quickly that stuff hits your bloodstream. And by the way, fruit is an excellent source of carbohydrates for a workout. So yeah, avoid fruit juice. It is not healthy. If you're thinking, I'm going to cut out sodas, I'm going to drink fruit juice, the healthy choice. I did that, and it was just as bad as drinking soda. For now, that's all I have. This is Cody. Thank you for watching my video, and I'll see you guys next time.